All right, good people, good evening. It is good to see you on this blessed Thursday. I am happy to be back since last week we missed it due to technical difficulties while I was out of town. But we are back. We are here. We are ready to read. We are ready to study. We are ready to get back into that word. As you all will recall, we have been studying Abraham's story. Abram has now got his name changed to Abraham. He just had a visitation from the Lord and the angels. And in this chapter that we're going into, the Lord is heading into Sodom and Gomorrah to evaluate if the outcry that has come from that land is worth destroying the land because it's just such a public outcry. So now we're going to talk about the punishment tonight from a nation, and that's the perspective that I would like to talk about and discuss. So I am looking forward to seeing what we can gather from this information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We are going to jump into it so that we can get this done. So we are going to Genesis 19. Of course, I do have a PowerPoint for y'all, but we're going to read it through one time in the Bible. I love using the NLT version on Bible Gateway. So we are going to read through this and then we're going to go over to our PowerPoint and kind of just walk through it step by step because you know that each week we like to look at each verse by verse to make sure we understanding what it's saying and in context of what's been going on and we're just following the stories as they develop. So this is Sodom and Gomorrah. It says, that evening the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, come to my home to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again. Oh, no, they replied. We'll just spend the night out here in the city square. But Lot insisted. So at last they went with him. They went home with him. Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. Please, my brothers, he begged, don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have two virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection. Stand back, they shouted. This fellow came to town as an outsider and he's acting like our judge. We'll treat you far worse than those other men. And they lunged toward Lot to break down the door. But the two angels reached out, pulled Lot into the house, and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house, so they gave up trying to get inside. Meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They asked. Get them out of this place, your sons in law, sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great it has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, quick, get out of the city. The Lord is about to destroy it. But the young man thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. Hurry, they said to Lot. Take your wife and your two daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city. When Lot still hesitated, the angel seized his hand and hands of his wife and two daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city, for the Lord was merciful. When they were safely outside the city, one of the angels ordered, run for your lives and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away. Oh no, my lord, Lot begged. You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness, but I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there is a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved. All right, the angel said, I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village, but hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. This explains why the village was known as Zoar, which means little place. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried out to the place where he had stood in the Lord's presence. He looked out across the plain towards Sodom and Gomorrah and watched as columns of smoke rose from the cities like a smoke from a furnace. But God had listened to Abraham's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities on the plain. Afterward, Lot left Zoar because he was afraid of the people there, and he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his two daughters. One day, the older daughter said to her sister, there are no men left anywhere in this entire area, so we can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. Come, let's get him drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line through our father. So that night they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go in and have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line through our father. So that night, they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. As before, he was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. When the older daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Moab. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Moabites. When the younger daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Ben Ami. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Ammonites. What a story. My. Let's talk about when God punishes a nation, because this information is this is quite a lot of details in this story. Remember that prior to this chapter, right in chapter 18, we read 2 weeks ago now because we skipped last week. We were reading, and Abraham was advocating for Sodom and Gomorrah, like, oh Lord, I know you're a God of justice. If you're able to find 50 good men, would you spare the city for the 50 good men, right? And then he went down to, like, I think 45, and then 40, and then 30, and then 20, and then 10. He just kept asking, would you save the good, basically good people, versus destroying everybody of the city. Because the outcry against the city is so great. So that's why I kind of titled this When God Punishes a Nation, because when the outcry against a place, meaning that there are righteous people who are crying out against some unrighteous behavior and wickedness that's being done, those things are going up to God. And I love the fact that in the last chapter, it showed us how God is responding to that. He's going to come down, he's going to see about it himself, and he's going to make a decision as to how is he going to deal with that? What type of punishment is he going to send to that nation because of their wickedness? It's not saying that he can't see it from where he's sitting on his throne. It's saying that he's going to make another appearance to judge completely for himself, to make sure that he's making the right decision. So I just love that, how that process worked, and how it's showing us how it works. So let's jump into Genesis 19 again and just walk through it a little bit slower. And just, like, this is a lot of information, y'all. So hopefully you are sticking with it. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Okay. Now remember, we are talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities are like neck and neck. So think of it like a twin city, like how Minnesota has twin cities, or like they're like cities that are literally back to each other. So this is telling us that they came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. The cities are literally next to each other. And so that evening is referring to the evening that um, they left for being with Abraham. Abraham was over, remember, he's camped um, near Mamre, the Amorite, and that is south of Bethel. So they obviously are able to travel within a few hours because he was up with Abraham in the, it said, in the hottest part of the day. So like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he's there with Abraham. By evening, evening is referring to, it's dusk basically, has hit. Then these angels are at the city. So only a few hours walk. It says Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. All right. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. So that's telling us Lot is able to recognize who these angels are, the angels who are with the Lord. Lot is able to recognize who they are because, probably because of the way that they're dressed, probably because Lot was trained under Abraham for years and years and years, even as an adult. So he's familiar with who the Lord is. He's familiar with the worship of the one true God. He's familiar with all these things. So this is not something new that he wouldn't have learned and wouldn't have gotten accustomed to. Like Lot had to go to Egypt with Abraham and Sarah, or when they were just Abram and Sarai, and he saw how that worked. He saw how God delivered them. He knows that Abram was called to leave Haran and go to a place that I will show you. So Lot, by proxy of Abram, has a relationship with God in a way that he can recognize and he understands who the divine is, and he understands who the Almighty is, and he understands what worship is. So he was not ignorant of any of these things. All right, so it says Lot was sitting there. He saw them, the angels, just referring to the angels at this point. It doesn't reference like God himself. It's just referring to angels in this chapter. And he went and he met them. And then not only did he meet them, he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. He is showing reverence. So this is why it picks up in verse 2 and it says, "My lords," he said, "come to my home to wash your feet." My lords is showing authority. So he's showing and demonstrating that they are masters. That's why I put the definition down here at the bottom, lords. The Hebrew is Adon, and that means master. And we talked about that 2 weeks ago as well, with the difference between Adon and Adonai. And so he said, "Come to my home to wash your feet and be my guest for the night." So he's being hospitable. And when you say go wash your feet, it's like, come relax, let me serve you. You wash your hands and feet. You dine with them for dinner. Like you kind of get served. Um, and then he says, "You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again." So, first of all, Lot is very aware of the city that he's living in. He's living in Sodom. He knows what goes on, and he knows that he wants to be the first one to welcome them because he knows how evil and wicked these people are, and he wants them to come to his house because I can't let you interact with these other people because it's some foolishness going on here. I don't even want you to be exposed to it. I don't want you to be privy to that information. So let's come on over here, and if you just come with me, I will get you, what you need without you having to deal with any type of foolishness. "Oh no," they replied. This is the angels. "We'll just spend the night out here in the city square." So obviously that's like a common practice thing. If you don't know anyone in the city, you don't go and stay with somebody in the city. And for them to spend the night in the city square must have been a common thing in that time. We don't really have a city square per se where people stay now. City square is where like Lot would have been sitting amongst. So so he would have been sitting amongst the wealthy of the city, the elite of the city, the prominent people of the city. Because when you sit at the city gate, you are a person who makes decisions. You are a person who has ownership of things. Like you don't need to be out working. You have your servants who are working and doing things for you. You're out here making business deals at the city gate. It's likely where things are being sold at. It's a lot of passerbys kind of coming through. So you get to see and interact with a lot when you're at the city gate. So that's why Lot was there, because Lot, even though he's not from there, he's a very prominent man. Remember, when he left from Abram, he was a very wealthy man. right? So when he's coming to Sodom, he probably came to Sodom with a lot of respect just because he had plenty of servants. Remember, his servants got into arguments with Abram's servants. So Lot already had servants. Lot already had donkeys. He had cattle. He had all the things that wealth would define a person of wealth. He had quite a lot of it, not more than Abram, but he had quite a lot of it. So he would have been a prominent man of this city. So that's how this that's the background behind why this interaction is so important. So they wanted to go sit at the city gate. Sleep at the city gate. And Lot insisted. So at last, they went home with him. This is important because Lot is like, no, I am not leaving you. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I cannot leave you here because this is some, like I said, foolishness going on. So Lot took them and he did what he said he was going to do. He prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate it. Now, this is going to be a significant, like symbolic thing to do when you're talking about offering. Um, Whenever bread is made with yeast, it cannot be used for offering sake. So, back in biblical times, when they did offerings and they made bread, they had flour, they would moisten it, but they cannot add any type of leaven to that bread because then it is not for holy consumption. They could add salt to it, but they could not. That is a reminder of eternal covenant, but you cannot add yeast to it. And so I love the fact they, just like Abram did, without baking the bread with yeast. Lot is doing the same thing because this is this is kind of like an offering. He's preparing food for them, but it still has to be made in like a holy way. And it's not that something is necessarily wrong with yeast. It's just that it's just not appropriate for, like I said, like an offering. And so then they ate it. It says, verse 4, but before they retired for the night, listen to this, y'all. Before they retire, so before they go to bed, all the men of Sodom. So let me go back. Lot prepared a feast, and what he's doing is, remember, he showed reverence to them and brought them into his home. So all these people are watching where these people are going. They're looking for who is new, who to take advantage of, and they know that those men went with Lot. The angels went with Lot. Lot is protecting them by taking them into his home. He is also showing reverence to them by preparing and providing all that hospitality, and that prepared food for them. So he is essentially saying, "You're under my protection. You're under my wings. I got you. We're gonna, you don't have to really worry about anything as far as what's out there because I am welcoming you and I show the reverence to you." Now, obviously, Lot and same with Abraham understand what that level of reverence is because they understand the Lord. Some people you just don't mess with. You respect, let's say, the man of God, essentially, the woman of God, the prophetess. Like you treat them with the honor and respect that's due for someone who is serving the Lord, even His angels. But people who don't serve the Lord don't understand that relationship. So when it says all the men of Sodom, young and old, that means the old ones don't have no sense, the young ones don't have no sense. They came from all over the city and surrounded the house. My goodness. They came from all over the city. You're talking about droves of men who are coming, and then they shout to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out so we can have sex with them." First of all, we can have sex with them. You're a man asking to have sex, boldly asking and yelling to have sex with other men who you don't. It's a whole lot wrong with that whole situation. You're talking about young men and old men shouting, begging, pleading, about to break down the door, willing to cause a ruckus and chaos because you want to go have sex with men. This is how far gone that city had become. And when I say nation, when I'm talking about the punishment of a nation, Sodom is not just a city. We're talking about a group of people that constitutes a nation. We're talking about ideology that is amongst this group of people, this nation. This had to go. This is the type of stuff that got them in trouble in the first place. This is why the Lord is coming down, because y'all are basically going around and raping people. Whoever you want to, whoever you deem is like sexy, you're going and you're raping people. This is and I know YouTube is probably going to bar that word, but like, you are violating other people. Um, and they're bold about it. There is no hiding it. Bold about it. So when we hear about people who have like these sexual like disorders and the way they call it disorder, and their very deviant behavior, you need to remind yourself of Genesis 19, because them people was very far gone. And we don't believe that we're that bad as society, but no, we can get that bad. It only takes a little bit um, of like unrighteousness to get that bad. That's why the Bible says a little leaven leavens the whole lump, because it only takes a little bit before it spreads. That's the thing about leaven. There's nothing wrong with it, but you got to be careful of how you contain it, where you control it, because all it needs is a little bit, and it's a bacteria essentially that continues to grow and ferment. So if you let it continue to sit there, it's going to get into everything, just like this homosexuality that they're dealing with. If you let it sit there in this nation, this community, it's just going to infect everything. Look at America; it's infected everything. All right, and you got to root that out. So, verse 6. This is what Lot did. Yeah, I'm reminding y'all, I'm stuck on this part. It says, young and old, men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. Please, my brothers, he begged. He's saying, like, hey, I am one of you as far as a brother. Not, I don't know what Lot's, what kind of sexual behaviors he got, but he's using my brothers in the terms of like friends, um, like I'm not your enemy kind of thing. He begged, don't do such a wicked thing. He's labeling it as wicked. People like to get offended when you say something is evil or wicked. Look, I have two virgin daughters. Now, this is how twisted Lot is. Instead of him just saying no, he is trying to offer them to basically satiate their pleasure. He's offering up his two virgin daughters so that they can be pleasured. What, you gonna let your daughters just go out here and just have sex with all these men like that? That is wild. Um, Let me bring them to you, and you can do with them as you wish. Yeah, this is a little perturbing, because I get the fact that he is trying to protect angels. At the same time, he's offering up his daughters to basically get a train ran on them. Like that. That's a whole lot right there. This is how infected even Lot's mind is at this point. So he said, let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection. So he's trying to create this barrier and diversion for the angels. And here is what the people say. Hold on now, partner. They like, stand back. This fellow came to town as an outsider, and now he's acting like our judge. You're talking about Lot. Lot is the fellow who came to town as an outsider. Remember, he came from Abram's camp. He was not from there. He's not those people, and they accepted him. But now he's acting like our judge. Why are they saying that? Because he called what they did wicked. And people love to cry, "You judging me? You judging me? Don't judge me," because they don't want to be called out for their wickedness. People want to be very comfortable in the sin that they are doing. They don't want to be called out for it. They want to make it sound like, well, everybody has something, so don't call out my stuff. I'm sorry, but that's what we're supposed to do as the body. The Bible never says don't judge, because it does say judge with righteousness. And if you are a blood bought believer, then anybody who is also a blood bought believer has the ability to call you out on your sin, on your stuff, because we're not supposed to let you be complacent with the type of behavior that you have. And I just find it interesting that people always want to throw out the term judging me when they want to protect their sin. But they don't have another problem talking about other people's stuff. It never makes sense. So They were upset because he's acting like our judge because he's calling what they did wicked. He said, they said, we'll treat you far worse than those other men. And they lunged toward Lot to break down the door. So these people are trying, they gonna be like, I'm gonna get what I want to get. So then the two angels reached out, pulled Lot inside the house, and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house. So they gave up trying to get inside because they couldn't see. So now their sight became the priority. It distracted them enough to go away from what they were trying to do and forget this whole mess. Um, so it continues. It gets worse. Okay. Meanwhile, the angels question Lot. So the angels are talking to Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They ask. Get them out of this place, your sons in law, sons, daughters, or anyone else. For we are about to destroy this city completely. This is a very important word, completely. The outcry against this place is so great, it has reached the Lord, and He has sent us to destroy it. There will be nothing left. So that means that they have had so much sin that people have been complaining about, that people have been praying for relief from, to the point where there is nothing else to do but destroy the city because of the wickedness. I am not here to advocate against said communities that are similar to what we have, like this, like in America. I am advocating, however, that we create an outcry against the places that are permitting and allowing these types of things to happen. The systems that are permitting um, all of this trafficking, all of the prostitution, all of the what is it, pedophilia, all of that type of stuff. There should be an outcry. Sometimes we're still dealing with the same problems as a nation because we, as the saints, have not developed an outcry against something. There is a courtroom in heaven. We have the ability to legislate in the courtroom. We have the ability to bring um, a defense, bring an offense, bring whatever it's called against whomever is harming us and our people. We should not just be letting things happen. We should be trying to legislate properly because they have legislated properly at this time because there was an outcry that had become so great. Then the Lord was like, nah, I done gave them chance after chance after chance. We got to destroy this because it's taking out people. It's causing too much damage. So He will take it out. Never be misled about what the Lord will do. Everybody wants to say He's so kind and great. He is, but He also will punish. He also will judge. Um, and a lot of times it's just our stubbornness that prevents us from being able to avoid that. Just like Sodom, any city can be Sodom. So let's see how the Lord utterly destroys it. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughters to be out. So they asked him, okay, do you have any relatives or something? You need to go warn them. You need to tell them that, hey, we're about to destroy this city. They better get out. So then Lot followed suit. Lot rushed out to tell his daughters' fiancés. So these are people that his daughters are engaged to. These daughters who he tried to give up to these sick men and whatnot for their pleasure. He went to the fiancés. He said, quick, get out of the city. The Lord is about to destroy it. But the young men thought he was only joking. Now, I thought this was interesting because they probably thought he was joking because they probably didn't take it seriously because they don't have a relationship with the Lord. When you decide to take yourself to a place where people don't believe what you believe, and you know they don't believe what you believe because they practice something completely opposite, then you run the risk of them not taking things seriously. You might know to take something seriously and they're not. So, unfortunately, the fiancés got destroyed with the city because they thought that he was only joking because they didn't think that the Lord was serious enough. They didn't understand who it was that they were in the presence of, as far as the angels are concerned, and they did not take that warning seriously. That's what happens to people. When they're involved in some of the wrong stuff, you go warn them, they're not going to take it seriously. It's not for us to judge whether or not that's what's going to happen to them if they do or don't. But it is our job, if we do have a warning, to warn. So Lot warned. It didn't help them because in the end of the day they made a decision, but he did warn them. 15. It says, at dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. That means they're not letting up. They're like, no, like right now, we gotta go. We gotta go right now. There is no time to pack anything. There's no time to do, there's no time to say goodbye. It's time to go. Because they knew that there is a clock. The Lord sent them there to do a job. They already stopped with Abraham. They told him what was going on. Abraham has advocated to save the righteous. That's what that's what they're trying to do. That's all the purpose is. So at dawn, the angels are like, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you'll be swept away in the destruction of the city. That's their warning. Lot still hesitated. Why did he hesitate? Because Lot is tied to this city. He's like, wait a minute though, but like my business is here, my people are here, my family is here, like it's other people who I'm related to that are here. What you mean go? What you mean right now? Like, you know how you kind of you want to do something, but like your mind is thinking something else, so you hesitate. So that's what happens a lot. It says the angel seized his hand on the the angel seized his hand and the hands of his wife and the 2 daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city. For the Lord was merciful. So because of the Lord's mercy, those angels had to drag them out of that city to get them away because they were hesitating on their own with like moving and following these instructions. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, so they're pretty far enough away to where they wouldn't be impacted by what's about to happen. Run for your lives. Don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away. Here's the thing, you only get one warning sometimes. Because who has time in an emergency to keep telling you the same thing over and over again? If something's going on, something's going down, you better listen the first time that somebody gives you a warning. And they had no reason not to trust them. He knew exactly who they were. But what happens? You let your flesh get in the way. So they already hesitated one time. Lot hesitated. Now they're telling him, run, do not look back, do not stop. Go to the mountains, or here's the alternative, you will be swept away. They knew that meant you're going to die if you stay anywhere close to where we are. So here's Lot. He's like, oh, no, wait a minute. You said go to the mountain. Wait a minute. So, oh no, my Lord Lot big, you have been so gracious and saved my life. And you have shown such great kindness. Look at how he's showing reverence. He's not just saying no, he's showing reverence to who he knows that they are and what they've done. So, he's trying to be polite about it and not just being rebellious and saying no. You've been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness. But I cannot go to the mountains. He's like, that cannot happen. So sorry. Um, but he says, disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. Basically, what Lot is trying to say is, I can't survive in the mountains. I don't know nobody. I don't have no food. Like he's not a man that like works the land really. So he depends on a lot of things, and he will operate better in the city like he's used to. So just like we wouldn't be able to just go out and live in the country anywhere, Lot couldn't do it either. And so then he makes another suggestion. He says, see, there is a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved. So like he's like, I can make it there. It's a village, and I can work with that. All right, the angel said. He conceded. He agreed. I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village, but hurry. Escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. This explains why the village was known as Zoar, which means little place. So he needed him to get on from where they were, and he needed him to um go to this little city he was talking about. Okay, so these maps we used weeks and weeks and weeks ago when we first started talking about this whole region. So I try to, these are almost similar maps, but they kind of label it a little bit differently. Okay. So we still have Moab, but this is Zoar. This is what I want to show you. This is where he's running to. Tal El Haman. I'm not saying that properly, but that's like probably like right here. It looks like would have been about right here. Is Zoar is right here. It's just a village just outside of this main city. So this area would have been Sodom and Gomorrah. This is where Abram originally was camped at. He's now located a little bit south where this says Hebron. So that's about here. So this is where Abram is in this sort of region. We're not sure it's the he's near he's camped wherever Mamre's property is. So we're not sure if that's a little bit north or like what's going on with that. So we don't know the exact location. However, we do know the area. So this is where Abraham is. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember, they were up here when they split. So when they split, they were in Bethel and Ai, sort of between Bethel and Ai. Lot saw that the lush, fertile grounds were over here near Sodom and Gomorrah, where the Dead Sea was coming from, and he let Abraham stick with what he had. Okay, he wanted to go over here. So he went this way. Eventually, Abraham moved south here. All right, so that's how we end up there. All right, so Zoar is about here. So they're going to this whole little city that's near the mountain range, but it's a little village. Just so we have some context. All right. So it says Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. So this is, remember, in the first thing in the morning, you're talking about like barely first light. You're talking about it's dark enough to where you know it's about to be morning, but it's not quite morning yet because the sun is not up. By the time the sun was rising, them people was at the village that they were supposed to be at. So it obviously did not take too long for them to get there. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Amazing. Now let's go back to what the Lord promised. This is what the Lord promised. Remember, he told him to get out of this place, for we are about to destroy this city completely. Did God do what he said, what he promised he would do? Let's go forward. It says, he utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. That means that there is nothing left. This is not a rainfall. Like, you know how they do have sulfur in the rain sometimes if it's like a lot of pollution. This is what the old KJV would call fire and brimstone raining down. This is literally setting everything on fire. In an instant, is destroyed. There is no suffering because in an instant, all of it's destroyed. It's like chemicals and fire all at the same time. It's nothing that can grow there anymore. All the people are gone. The city is it's almost like it's stoned to death, but it's fire that stoned them. And here go Lot's wife. While this is happening, he told him run forward. He said, let's go back because the angels told them. He said, where is it? Run for your lives and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away. Simple instructions, what to do in an emergency, and here's the wife. Look back. Now, a lot of people talk about like why she looked back, because their heart was connected into that city. Their desire for lust and wealthy things is connected to the city. So for some reason, Lot's wife didn't want to get away from that, and she wanted to look back. And as a result of looking back, she turned into a pillar of salt. Her life is gone. She's swept away. There's no return. There's no coming back from that. So now she gone. So now it's just Lot and the two daughters, because the mom, she gone. And it's likely that the daughters probably saw her turn into this pillar of salt because um, she was following behind him. So he didn't see it. Somebody had to see it to tell the story. Turn into a whole pillar of salt. Can't do nothing with you. Abraham got up early that morning. So this is like the other side of it. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried out to the place where he had stood in the Lord's presence. So the very place that he had just talked with the Lord about yesterday, in the very place that he just talked to the Lord at yesterday, is where he is now standing. He looked out across the plain towards Sodom and Gomorrah. He knew exactly what he was looking for, and watched as columns of smoke rose from the cities like smoke from a furnace, because it was being burned down. But God had listened to Abraham's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities of the plain. This was important because what it indicates is that Abram's advocacy for the righteous panned out well, because it caused the Lord to show mercy to Lot. Lot, who was obviously righteous enough in the Lord's eyes to be saved from the city who he was intending to destroy. He was intending to destroy the city and everybody in it, everybody associated with it, except for, you know, Abraham is advocating for him to be merciful and not destroy the righteous with the unrighteous. And so you have to be thankful for those people who you might not even be in contact with, but maybe they're praying and advocating for the righteous to be rewarded. You know, sometimes we don't know how our blessings are coming through. You don't know who is praying for you. You don't know how things are being advocated for in the courts of heaven situation. And there's always somebody on our side. There's always an advocate. That's why we have the Holy Spirit as well right now. There's always an advocate, and you got to be really thankful for like those advocates that are similar to like Holy Spirit as well as Abraham, because those are the people that help us gain traction. You might not know what to pray for, but Holy Spirit knows what to pray for. So even your utterings in your tongue are important, because the Spirit is moving. The Spirit always knows what to pray. He always has the right words to say, even when we don't know we should. Things are going down in your life, and you're like, oh, it's kind of a ram in a bush situation where you got saved in the nick of time. That's the Lord sending you something. He's Because somebody advocated, somebody advocated for the Lord's mercy, right? Whether it was when you were born or whatever situation, there was mercy that was advocated for you. So we got to be grateful, and we have to pray it for other people too, so that that mercy and grace that they might not know to pray for right now is present in their life too. Okay. So it says, afterward, Lot left Zoar. The very place he begged the angels to go to, he then left because he was afraid of the people there. And he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his two daughters. Why was he afraid of the people there? Well, obviously, Lot is different. Obviously, Lot done came to the city because he ran away from what was going on. And something in Zoar, even though it was a little place, made him afraid of the people. So his life is at stake. So they went to live in the very mountains that he said was going to take him out. This is the same place he went to. Here go the daughters. They got bright ideas. One day, the older daughter said to her sister, now obviously this is not right away, but they assess the reality of the situation. She says, there are no men left anywhere in this entire area. Now remember, the fire not only destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, but it destroyed villages and towns as well. So they said there are no men left anywhere. in this entire area. So we can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. So that tells you how old Lot was at this time. Come, let's get drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line through our father. So this is the older daughter coming up with this idea. So that night, they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. Now, that little detail is important because it would be completely inappropriate for a daughter and a father to have sexual intercourse and have knowledge of it and be consenting to that act. Is I'm not saying it's right for her to do it, but it's one thing if it's consensual on both people's part, both parties. It's another thing if this is something that is only being initiated by one party. So it's like it's not that it's not a sin. It's just that it could have easily been punished if they both were aware of it. So they got him drunk, and he was completely unaware because he is drunk of when she came into his not bedroom but his area, his sleeping area, and when she got up. He is completely unaware that they even had sex. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go in and have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line through our father. So that night, they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. As before, he was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. So he is unaware that he's even having sex with his daughters. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. You can There are lots of ways to think of that situation. Um, Interesting is one of them. Creative could be another term. I just can't think of another word to describe it. Um, I guess you could say their intentions were somewhat noble because they're thinking of like survival of the next generation, and they know that they have to bear children in order to continue the legacy. Um, I'm not saying this is right at all. All I'm saying is that this is what happened. This is what we need to read and understand, that things like this happen in the Bible. While we're trying to avoid reading certain chapters, and this is a part of the biblical history. Moab becomes very important. So let's look at this map and let's look at this the last bit of this text. When the older daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Moab. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Moabites. Here is Moab. It's in the same location on our other map that we looked at earlier. The older daughter named her son Moab. This is the land so it's south of, so they went into the mountains south of where they were. This is like Zoar was up here somewhere. It was south of that. The younger daughter gave birth to a son. She named him Ben Ami. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Ammonites. Ammonites up here. Not Amorites. Amorites were over here with an R. Ammonites with an N up here. Moab and Ammon. This is really telling us how things develop in the Bible. All of these nations become important. Moab becomes the land where Ruth is blessed and welcomed into Naomi's family. So the book of Ruth, when you hear about Moab and those Moabite people, the cursed people, the destructive people, all the things that they are enemies really with Israel. Israel is over here, but they are important in this history. Ruth herself is a Moabite, regardless of how you feel about it. Ammonites play a significant role, but not as much as Moab. This is a greater nation, so we're not here to categorize something as good, bad, indifferent, evil, whatever, right, wrong kind of thing. We are here to understand that this is how things started to develop. So this is how this nation came into existence. One nation was punished by God. The righteous were saved in that nation and sent away. They developed their own nation whether it was the right way to do it or not, they developed their own nation that you would think, had they grown up with Lot's influence and understood God, would have been a more godly nation, but they end up turning evil as well. Most likely because of the evil that those daughters grew up around. They grew up around in this city of Sodom and Gomorrah. Only Lot grew up around um, Abraham, and they were not bold enough to go back to where Abraham was. Obviously, that would have been a better decision, but I'm not here to really recreate the story. I'm just here to tell you that even though this situation took place and there's punishment because of the outcry, we need to create an outcry. Um, and it's not a complaining to yourself and to your coworkers. It is an outcry. It's in a prayer. This is a outcry that you are begging for God. Just like they made an outcry when they were in Egypt to get out of their slavery. We need to create an outcry in America because there are things that are wrong and we are permitting that are allowed to be done in the name of diversity and in the name of sort of just being fair and what they call being kind, and it's not. It's permitting evil. There was an outcry here. That outcry resulted in a whole city being destroyed because of their actions. A whole nother two other nations being born because of said outcry, and God saving. His mercy is the most critical thing throughout the story. His mercy, due to Abraham's advocacy, the Lord is merciful to those who are righteous. And that's what we want to see in this day and age, that the Lord be merciful to those that are righteous as well. So that is our story for today. That is where we are picking up. And then we shall be able to keep going with the next part of the story of Abraham next week as we jump into Genesis 20. So I hope that there are areas that you may want to go and explore more with this story. You might want to go read more about Moab. You might want to go read more about Sodom and Gomorrah and the present day site they found. We covered that weeks ago when we first started talking about Sodom and Gomorrah with I think it was like the war, when we were talking about those 5 kings that came from that region, the plains region, against the 4 kings that came from the Babylonian region. We covered that a long time ago as far as the legitimacy of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. They have found the site, and I sent y'all links and everything. So I might try to look back into that and send you another site or video for a reference, because maybe it makes more sense now for you to kind of see it and tie it into everything. But that city no longer exists. Nobody lives there. Nothing can grow there, because even when they go and they look at the remnants from the site, the sulfur and everything is still very much intact in the land, and they can prove scientifically that that is what it is. Everything destroyed in an instant. That's what the Bible said, and that's what happened. And so, don't you just love it when the Bible proves itself to be true? So, that is it for this evening. I will see you all tomorrow, and I mean, not tomorrow, next week. And I pray that you all have a nice and safe weekend. And as usual, you'll be getting your recap email on Friday morning. See you next time.